Beardo's Weirdos, have I got a surprise for you? Instead of me just sitting here telling you who the guest is on the second podcast, run the footage. My Haunted Hotel, the world's first documented ongoing paranormal investigation, set in the city of Chester in a 400-year-old inn. Chester being renowned as one of the most historic and haunted cities in the world. The show is known worldwide for its unique paranormal investigation. At My Haunted Hotel, you can book in as a guest and be part of your very own episode while experiencing the fully immersive and professional paranormal investigation. You're monitored by a team via their in-house control room. You'll be involved in interviews, as well as being involved in ongoing experiments designed to try and capture true paranormal activity. Try breathing the night in one of the themed bedrooms. The hotel is now home to the Grease doll, as well as many other cursed items. Join me as I sit down with Brett Jones from My Haunted Hotel, and we discuss all things paranormal. So we are with Brett Hustlerburger Jones. So start off, who are you and what do you do for anyone that doesn't watch the show?
Okay, I'm one of the 3 investigators and hosts of My Haunted Hotel. My Haunted Hotel is probably one of the world's first overnight immersive paranormal experiences where you actually stay in a 400-year-old hotel and it all gets filmed. We then put that into a weekly episode of highlights and put it on YouTube. We've now started filming other things as well, other special episodes that we're putting on other platforms. And that's the basics of what we do here.
Obviously, I've been a viewer of the show since the beginning. I think I found you guys on accident, episode 2, and hooked. I've obviously been to the hotel, met you guys, or met Harry and Danny. Lovely guys. Obviously had a lot of interactions with yourself, with Danny. Danny's actually, I've sent stuff for Danny to debunk, or to help me debunk, because I know he hates orbs. There was, I don't know if you're aware of it, we did an investigation in a castle, and a red thing came at the camera, and I was like, what's that? And Danny was like, look 2 frames before, there's a bug flies off your torch, and I think there's red brick dust attached to it, and that's just loosened off. And I was like,
okay, there you go.
Yeah. So what started your interest in the paranormal?
So I started off probably like everyone else watching My Haunted Hotel. But watching Most Haunted. I think I'm like reading it over my shoulder, so it's just there. So I started off watching Most Haunted as like a teenager, maybe 12, 13 years old. And back when Most Haunted Live was a thing, and it was this massive TV spectacle at the time, I remember everyone watching it. And I had a telephone on a wire next to us, and every ad break, as soon as the ad break would come on, I'd phone my friend who was watching at her house. And it was just one of those super excitement things. And I called, be like, oh my God, did you see that? Yeah, that bit. Oh, wow, I saw this. This is amazing. Okay, it's coming back on now. See you later. Bye. You call me back later. Put it down. And then immediately she'd call back. And we started, doing what I think a lot of teenagers do. I know you've done it as well. It is go out and do a random investigation at a place you deem abandoned.
Yeah.
Just for the kicks.
Yeah, I used to watch Most Haunted, and I was quite gullible in my younger years. And an episode would end, and there'd be 6 or 7 of us. We'd just all grab our flashlights, pile into somebody's car, drive down to, like Neath Abbey was a firm favourite of ours, because there was a tunnel that was just, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and we'd sit in there calling out and never got anything. And now and again, you'd hear a fart, and we'd all start giggling, and like, who was that? And it was always the same guy, but we just enjoyed the experience of it. And prior to that, for me, I obviously told you this before, it was BBC's Ghost Watch, because obviously I'm a lot older. I remember watching that, going to school the next day, and everyone was just like, ghosts are real. Did you see that? Mr. Taps Oh, it's real. None of us had any idea. My dad had to debunk it because it scared me. Obviously, War of the Worlds. My dad debunked it as back in the day. War of the Worlds was played on the radio. Mass hysteria. People thought the Martians were invading. That's exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
But it was Sarah Green. I trusted Sarah Green. She betrayed me.
I had another thing that's kind of got me into the kind of scary stuff was actually Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds. My mum and dad used to listen to it when I was younger on LP, and I used to read the book that came with it, and it scared the absolute living daylights out of me, to the point now if I actually hear some of the music as I'm just walking down the street, I'll freeze on the spot. But now working in sort of like my other job is like I work in kind of attractions and Halloween events and stuff. Now that sort of being my job, facilitating people being scared, which is kind of what we do here as well. Is that that fascinates me now. So the psychology behind people being scared has always fascinated me too.
Yeah. Fear is a weird thing. You got your fight or flight, and then fear does strange things to people. Like my previous line of work, I can't discuss a lot of it while I'm recording, but I was in a position where I was at risk every day of violence, and I developed such a thick skin to it that nothing phases me. And people are like, "How have you reacted to that situation?" For example, some guy was basically dangling me off a balcony. I was 14 stories up, and he's like, "I'm going to drop you." And I'm, all right, but your bill's going up. And he's like, "What?" And I freaked him out because I was so calm. He pulled me back up, and he's like, "Just get out of my house, you weirdo." Okay. And the guys I worked for are like, how? And I'm like, because 22 years I've been involved in the security industry, and it's always been frontline. I'm just so thick-skinned and hardened to it. Yet I go out on a paranormal investigation, and I'm terrified. I am literally so jumpy, and it's like nobody's ever died from seeing a ghost that I know of. But it's like the little creaky noises, and it happened in your place. There was a bang. The camera, my end and your end, didn't do that bang justice in the room with the pentagram on the floor. I was drinking out of a water bottle as it happened, and I literally sprayed everything. I was like, I hope they haven't seen that. And then I heard Danny's voice. Oh, we saw it. Do you know what that bang was? And they were like, no idea. We get it all the time. I had no idea how loud that bang was. It was like a gunshot going off.
I think a lot of the stuff we film here doesn't do it justice quite a lot, because obviously we're using microphones a lot of the time that are in little security cameras, little CCTV cameras and stuff. I don't think a lot of it doesn't give off the genuine experience people have here.
No, and as good as the TV show looks, and as much of the essence of the hotel you can capture with the sort of the visual recordings, it doesn't. The atmosphere of that place, as soon as you step up them stairs, there's like a fog that comes down of, oh, all right, it's actually really creepy up here. Like there's just an atmosphere, and you hear something creak, and you're like, oh, what was that? If it was your own house, it's just a creak. It's somebody walking around, but it's the design. And then obviously, like you said, the building is 400 years, or the current building is 400 years old. I think it goes back way further than that. And I had a conversation, me and Steve from the Ouija Brothers, who's obviously he's been there as well. We were having a conversation about it. When obviously all the pay-per-view stuff and all the rest of it was coming out from you guys, and we were looking at the comments like, why are people annoyed at them? They're not making them look at the state on them. They're all looking tired, and we were like, a building with that history in Chester, which is renowned for being one of the most haunted places in the UK. Why wouldn't that building be haunted? If somewhere is going to be haunted, surely places like that hotel, Margam. I've been to Margam loads, never seen or experienced anything paranormal there, but I'm still like, this is potentially the place where somebody's going to capture something. And it's an amazing building.
I think the reason we probably capture as much as we do as well is that we record 4,000 hours of footage a week. If you put 24 cameras in every paranormal or potentially haunted building in the country, then they probably would catch as much too. The only difference is that we have the ability to capture all the stuff here. And I don't think people quite realise that we have over 4,000 hours of footage to go through each week to put into a 30-minute episode on YouTube. It's quite a lot of work.
I mean, obviously, I went there. I spent the night there, and then I was like, I'm only going to record so much of it, but I was using 2 cameras. They were my phones at the time. It was before I bought the cameras. And then when I put everything on my hard drive, I was like, oh, I've got 7 hours worth of footage because it's 2 angles. And I was like, how do I edit this? And while I was editing, I was like, they've got 20 or 20-something cameras and multiple guests. I'm only looking at myself and my wife. And so how do they do that? And then I spoke to Danny just before I went to bed that night. And I was like, so how long does it take you to put an episode out? He's like, next week. Like, what? Who edits that? I do. How in the hell are you doing all of that Monday to Thursday, and then on a Sunday you're dropping an episode, and then you're only ever a week behind? It's incredible.
It is. It's mad. Danny wakes up 8 a.m. every day to get on the edit of things. Bear in mind, he has other shows to film as well.
Yeah.
And other things to do. We do 4 investigations here a week. It's probably now the most investigated building in the country. And it's mad to think that some people say to us, oh, after an hour or after one night a week, I've got a paranormal hangover. We do it 4 hours. We do it 4 days a week. 9 times out of 10, I'll actually stay here as well. If there's a room empty, I'll stay over. I think a lot of people forget that this is our job as well. So we come in, we film it all. We actually cut our footage as the night goes to make it, because we literally have to be on a pen drive and leave that night to get it into the edit for Sunday. And I go to bed here and then wake up here and then do some work, and then I do another night here, and then it's endless. It is so much work. And then outside of it, you have emails, messages off followers to try and reply to all of that. You basically have this endless conversation and life about work and nothing else. I actually I had a go at one of my friends who started talking to me about ghosts. Now, I assume you get this as well, to be fair. We get it all the time. People coming to you and telling you about their paranormal experiences. Yeah. And I love the paranormal, but it's not the most interesting conversation to have. Someone explaining about when they were 12 years old, their mum did a Ouija board, whose dog did a Ouija board's best friend's dog did a Ouija board of that, and then something happened, and it's always this weird kind of incredibly obvious conversation to have. And I'm sat there going, I think you said this earlier when we were chatting, is that if you work at Tesco and you work there 4 days a week and then you have to sleep in Tesco, you wouldn't go home and watch a documentary about Tesco.
No.
It is endless. So it's quite amusing, and like the following and the fans we have of this show is unbelievable. How on earth we ever even managed to get to where we are now is absolutely mad. I came in here today and I don't know what this is. This is you haven't seen this. I came in here and to Danny, Brett, and Harry. We don't live far from Holly Island. Holly Island
is in North Wales.
Oh, there you go. So we took a trip up. Enjoy. Hope to come down and stay soon. Lynn and Bob.
No.
I don't know what Should we have a look?
Yeah, when we came up, we brought snacks up and all the rest. So when they said you were in there, we were like,
I got it.
But we put them down, and Danny and Harry were so grateful, and then they put it on this table, and I was like, shit, that's all the other stuff people have brought. It was the night your doll turned up.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was because we made friends with one of the guests, Sindel. She's been there twice.
Yes, yeah, I know
And she was the one that brought the doll in of you.
Yeah, well, there's three of us now, but yeah, I've got a shelf full of stuff, and it's just mad because we're just
It's
three
mad,
guys
but
sat here just doing
it's mad.
paranormal
But
investigation and taking a piss.
at the same point, it obviously shows that people appreciate what you guys are doing for the paranormal because there's so much bad content out there. So much. Obviously, you watch me, so you know how much there is out there by the stuff I'm constantly shouting at. But then to have something legitimate that people can look at and something that I want to do a ghost hunt, but I'm not. I'm like I never wanted to do abandoned places, but I've started doing them just because it amps the fear up and all the rest of it. But people can go there. They don't have to buy equipment. They don't have to buy cameras. They can turn up because it's all recorded. There's oh, I don't have an EMF. You walk into the room, there's an EMF and all the rest of it. Thankfully, when I stayed, there wasn't a Ouija board in room 2 that had always been on the cupboard. I looked for it because I was like, I'm not touching that thing. It gives people that would otherwise only be able to sit at home and watch an episode of Most Haunted, Really Haunted, whatever you want to, whatever your thing is, and people can now go, do you know what? And I'll be honest, the price, you can't really argue with it. It's it's not it's not expensive. It is really not expensive for the 15 hours I was there in total. And you get to stay over, you get to meet the guys that run the show, and they're not there's no egos, there's nothing like that. They're very welcoming. Danny's a very intense man.
Yeah, he's just
But
like that.
yeah, I genuinely thought it may have been Danny's on-screen presence, and then when I met him, I'm like, no, that's him. He is that intense, and yeah, it's a great experience for people. I think the reason that you get all of this stuff is people appreciate that they can just, oh, look, I've got a couple of days off. Let's go to Chester and stay in what is one of the most haunted places in the UK, maybe the world, and I think that's where it stems from. And there's no BS.
Yeah, I think we wanted to make it as real as possible. Like the one thing from the get-go was this has to be with real people. The guests that come here, they're real people that genuinely want to experience something. We've always kind of described the show as like Gogglebox, Big Brother, and Paranormal Lockdown. It's like those three mashed together. And,
but nowhere near as trashy.
No. But it's kind of those three concepts in a way, and they meld together quite well. The reason it's taken us a year to get where we are now is the fact that didn't exist anywhere.
No.
And we had to just make it up. I remember when we first came up with the idea, and I was put to the task of going, right, how do you get people here? I put it into 4 words, which was immersive, paranormal, overnight experience. And that was it. That's all I could do. I couldn't explain it any further than that. And it's kind of like being on a show. It's kind of like doing an investigation. It's kind of like spending a night at a normal hotel. It's all these things mashed together, which just hasn't been done before. I think that's another thing that is the reason
originality
that we've been quite successful with it is that no one's doing it, and the people that come here and do give us gifts and things like that it is amazing to think that it's incredibly like humbling knowing that people kind of allow us into their homes every Sunday.
Yeah, I mean,
people watch it on TV in front of their dinner, and that to me is just so nice knowing that people want to see and trust you to be their entertainment at home each week. It's just
like you probably don't realize it, but what you used to do with your friend were Really Haunted, people now do with My Haunted Hotel. Because I've got a Discord server for like the guys I game with, and every Sunday the Discord lights up about 10 minutes after you guys we've watched, and we're all like, "Did you watch? Did you see this bit? Did you see that bit?" And it's almost full circle back to what I think genuinely when Most Haunted started, they had all they were going to be a legitimate channel. I think they set out to be legitimate paranormal channel, and the lure of TV ratings, money, etc., has done what it's done to them. At least for YouTube, you don't have an executive producer. Right, we need to get this many and what have you. So, off the back of that conversation, how did you meet Harry and Danny?
So I actually used to work in another paranormal investigation job. This is going back a long time ago, maybe 12, 13 years ago now. I used to work at a place called Plasteig. It's an old Jacobean mansion that Most Haunted have actually been to a couple of times. And I got fired from that job as a paranormal investigator. This isn't common knowledge, but I got fired because I debunked a couple of things there, and I also debunked 2 mediums that came in, and unfortunately they didn't take too nicely to skepticism, which is crazy because surely we're investigating and not just observing the paranormal. If we're paranormal observers, we just believe everything regardless, and that's not our job, right?
Imagine being fired for being honest.
Yeah, they were doing a hypnotism trick. These 2 mediums were doing an actual hypnotism trick. I used to do magic and stuff like that years and years ago, and learned little bits of hypnotism and little bits of cold reading, which mediums potentially use, which we've just done a special on with 4 different mediums in, where I have actively sat here almost against my own will and drawn similarities through cold reading live whilst doing a reading with Harry.
Yeah.
Which was horrible to do because these are lovely people, and I don't believe these people are lying, but I believe that some mediums literally believe their own stuff.
It would be wrong to I personally have never seen a medium that I've gone legit. I've not seen it myself. I'm not saying they're not out there. And then I saw Darren Brown. There was an episode where he went out with a UK
Joe
medium.
Power.
Oh, he destroyed that guy. And the guy, he was so toxic towards the end of it because he'd been rumbled but couldn't let that mask slip. And
he's still an incredibly well-known medium.
Yeah.
Even a documentary featuring Darren Brown on Channel 4 still didn't stop that medium from being an incredibly popular medium. These people that fired me from Plasteig will believe in it no matter how much you debunk things. There is another side to skepticism where the other side is you literally just believe everything no matter what. Yeah. And there's no saying anything. It is fascinating seeing kind of 2 sides like that. But yeah, I was working at Plasteig, not for long, and ended up being told that there was this guy called Harry. He's just got hold of the King's Head in Chester, and he wanted to do these ghost tours around Chester, these kind of theatrical ghost tours. That's where a lot of my background is in sort of theatrical-based attractions and stuff like that. So they put me in touch. I met Harry and we went on a ghost hunt to Glyndlevon Mansion. He went, "Hey, do you want to jump in the back of my van?" I obliged to this stranger I'd never met before, jumped in the back of his van.
Don't do that, kids.
No, don't do it. And we went on this ghost hunt, an incredible building, and ended up sort of being involved in the ghost hunts that he ran here. He ran his own paranormal company from here separately, called The Resting Place at the time.
Yeah.
And then it kind of all sort of dissipated to nothing. And I hadn't heard or spoke to Harry in about 10 years until a random phone call came through saying, "Hey, I've covered the hotel in cameras. I want it to be called My Haunted Hotel. What do you reckon?" That was basically the whole phone call.
Yeah.
At this point, this whole thing didn't exist even in my head. It kind of was a loose concept of Harry's to kind of live stream it somehow. So we came in along with Ollie, who you may have seen in some of the episodes. He had a big hand in creating. We created the branding and the logo and the website and everything. we wanted to create something that had never been done before in the paranormal. You can do a ghost hunt any day. How do we create this something completely different? And we did that, and then we realized we wanted it to be on camera. So that meant that the host had to be good on camera. It was not supposed to be me, Harry. We didn't even know Danny existed at this point. We had another paranormal team, which ironically were going to be the faces of the show. How things would have been completely different. These paranormal investigators, though, were just not good for camera. They were not entertaining to watch. They weren't really good in terms of, being able to describe things well on camera or to guests that were having this experience.
Yeah.
So we looked into how other ways of doing it. And then Danny came with the Haunted Hunts to do an investigation here, a public investigation. He paid for the rent of the building. And I sneakily watched the cameras back the next day. I was here working, trying to do some stuff. I'm watching, I'm going, who's this guy? Who's this guy who's like clearly very passionate about what he's doing?
Yeah.
Clearly understands that his guests, even though it wasn't being filmed, his guests that were with him had to have a good experience regardless of the paranormal stuff not even happening.
Yeah.
And being good on camera and stuff, and having a sort of a way of being, a presence of some sort. And this guy had it.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know who he was. I told Harry the next day, said, "Who's this guy?" And he went, "Oh, that's Danny Moss. He's done TV. He won't want in on any of it." I went, "I'm going to call him. What's his number?" And that was when he came in. We discussed this concept that then merged into what you see now with this episodic creation of us three being idiots to camera a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it works though.
Yeah, we didn't realize it ever would work, and there's not a chance in hell we ever thought that people would be, actually watching the show partially for us as well as the paranormal side of it. We did not expect that at all. That was not in the plan.
Yeah, it's there's definitely I don't know if it's in this or the bit that I thought was recording that wasn't, but so I'm gonna have to say it again and then maybe delete it or whatever. But Danny is like a front man, a presenter, etc. He's really good at what he does. He's very commanding with his voice and great to watch. And then he was like, right, I get that bit. And then there's obviously Harry, the guy that's in the background that owns the place. And in the early episodes, he explains how he came into it, why, and all the rest of it. And then you're designing and all the rest of it. And then it's like, do you know what? Half of why this show is so good is just those three being idiots in their office. Just the coin flip. Yes. I don't know how many times I've seen it, and I still laugh at it. And there's a couple of us that watch it. The second somebody pulls a coin out and flips it, I'm like, don't do it. And yes. And
no.
Somebody will turn up into work. We've got our very own hustler in work. The guy eats nothing but microwave burgers, and we call him the Hustler Burger. And it's just, it bleeds into real life, and that obviously says something about the personality of the three of you guys. Because if you didn't get on or anything, it'd show on camera. If you didn't have a sense of humor, then it wouldn't be as enjoyable. The paranormal is, I find it very entertaining, but you can only watch so many investigations where there's just people stood in the dark and can you whistle? There's only so much of that people can consume, but when it's chopped down from 4,000 hours into this incredible blast of here's the paranormal and three guys who are not afraid to laugh at themselves whilst conducting legitimate paranormal investigation.
Yeah, I think from the get-go we realised that the paranormal, people aren't doing it to turn up and go, I'm here to see a demon and everything is scary and serious. People are doing it for fun. That it is a form of entertainment, and people are doing it because they love it. And we kind of were like, not many people are really tapping into the fact that paranormal can be fun. And a lot of these, especially TV shows, take it so overly serious that it becomes ridiculous again.
They parody themselves without realizing.
The ability to, basically, the ability to have fun whilst doing a serious paranormal investigation is possible because people do it everywhere. The only difference is that it's not really being filmed 24/7 like it is here.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like, let's put a real spin on this. Let's make a real reality paranormal show, not, Girls Aloud going with Most Haunted somewhere, that's all sort of pre-done in a specific ways. Like, these are real people having real experiences, and the people running it are real normal people too.
Yeah.
We have lives. The reason I'm eating so many snacks on camera all the time is because I stay here. So that kind of turned into this sort of joke. And it's now to the point that if I turn up without food, people are angry.
Yeah, I remember when we got there. We looked at the menu because it took us. We got stuck in Birmingham, and it took us 6.5 hours to do a 4-hour journey. We finally got there, and I was like, I got to eat. I'm a big guy. I've got to eat. We looked at the menu, and I was like, they don't actually call it a Hustler Burger. Get it. And I went up to the bar, and I was like, I'll have a Hustler Burger, please. And then I realized it was Harry that I was ordering. And I'm like, hang on, he's working down here, and then he's got to go upstairs. And wow, the time you guys are going to spend it.
Yeah, the issue with the issue with the menu was it took us so long to design the menu. The menu that's here now is all My Haunted Hotel themed and everything, based on loads of different stuff. But it took so long for me to design the menu and for us to decide things. And then we had issues with the chefs. It was this whole thing. And we'd announced it on YouTube that it was happening. And it just never did.
Yeah.
And we kept saying, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And it went on and on forever. That was the bane of my life for like 3 months, that food menu.
Yeah, because it was... When we got there, we stood outside. I took a couple of photos of the outside of the building, and there was a couple sat outside. That they weren't young, and you're not staying in there, are you? Yeah, they were like, we love the pub, we eat out here. And this was 27th of October, and it was quite mild for October. It was the last investigation there before the Halloween party you did on the weekend. Yeah. And this couple were like, I wouldn't stay in there. We eat our food out here just because, it's scary. And it's like, are you local? Oh, yeah, we come here all the time, but it's scary. It's like, it's not scary. And then obviously when you go upstairs, like, well, actually, yeah, it is quite scary up here. Your design on the upstairs, I mean, I know you have... I don't know how involved you are in. I know personally you design the rooms, don't you? You designed them.
Yeah, I basically single-handedly designed and painted and decorated everything up there.
What a job!
And if you want a real debunk, here's one that people don't know. The corridor has floorboards all the way along it.
Yeah.
Those about 50% of those aren't real floorboards. They're actually MDF panels that I have engraved to look like floorboards. The amount of work I did, people won't even. There's a severe debunk for you. People wouldn't know.
Wow.
I've never told anyone that before. Only the people that I'm like close to that obviously saw me working on it for months beforehand. The reason I did it, I'm sure we'll come to this later anyway. The reason I decorated the rooms the way I did was to create something a little bit different. Those rooms were pretty creepy and old anyway.
Yeah.
But we were going to have, or the plan was to have this paranormal investigation, people stayed overnight, that was going to be slightly more mainstream than your average ghost hunt.
Yeah.
And we wanted people to be able to come here and feel a little bit creeped out, regardless of them believing in ghosts or doing a proper paranormal investigation. That was the kind of the initial thought. And then it kind of went into, wait a second, we could use this to our advantage. Let's theme the rooms in specific ways that we deem could evoke something, potentially.
Yeah.
Which is why they're sort of kind of specific in theme. And then when you get to the likes of Room 8, which I've decorated to look almost like a church, that was just all white walls in there. At that point, when you have potentially this horrific item that's claimed to be the most haunted thing in the country, regardless of whether you think it's real or not, it wasn't something I could turn down making a bit of a spectacle of. I think it's something that deserves a sort of a bit of a stage.
When you unleashed Room 8 and I first saw what it looked like, I was sat there like, holy shit. That looks like the sort of room I'd put my head in and be like, I don't know if I want to go in there. It just, even though it's church-based, it looks so demonic. It like Room 2, that's the one with the sort of the shadow demon thing painted on the wall. That room to me had a bit of a off feeling about it, and I think it was more the painting. But then what you've done in Room 8, it's like, Jesus Christ, you've recreated The Exorcist in feeling, but visually, I can't wait to come back and to go into that room because it looks, all of the rooms look brilliant. I've been in them, and the TV show does a brilliant job of portraying it as far as visual aids through cameras can. But actually going there and seeing the work that's been put in and seeing those rooms for yourself is a completely different experience. And people will email me, can you debunk my haunted hotels? I have tried. I've looked at lots and lots of footage. I watch it as a viewer, then I watch it as a debunker, and there's never been anything where I can go, got them. And I've looked, and I've never hidden it from when I came to visit. I told Danny I'm a debunker, and he went, I know. Uh-oh. And he was like, have I? He shook my hand, and he was like, anything you need, anything you want, just let me know. And then, as I told you earlier, he debunked the REM pods for me. He told me how the REM pods trigger, and I was convinced I was talking to something like, I can't believe the first time I've come here and I'm getting this. And Danny was just like, nah, it's the radios. Oh, fair. And
yeah,
he could have not said anything and played it off for me to be like, that place is, and he didn't. And he earned my respect. And that was quite early on in the investigation. And that's when he earned my respect. But I'm upstairs in there. I hear something walk past the door, and I'm like, there's somebody out there. And I know he says, you go in, you stay in your room. I'm not staying in my room. I'm going out. And I went out, and unbeknownst to me, somebody else did the same thing 20 minutes later. I went out, and I was genuinely expecting to see you stood there like, shit, I've been caught. That because you weren't there, I was like, it's a third person. I'm going to catch them at it. I went there to try and catch either something paranormal, because I do believe in the paranormal, or to catch out more fakers. And, I run out into the hallway. It was like, right, run around the corner, look up that long stretch. I'm like, no doors are closed. There's nobody here. And Danny was like, could it have been next door shifting on the step up to the front door? And I was like, nah, that's where I was sat. I could hear them moving and talking through the wall. But when I ran out into that hallway, it was because I heard somebody's footsteps and the creaking of somebody walking. And I chased the sound of somebody walking in front of me, and there was nobody there. And bizarre experience. And when I got back into the room, I was like, there's nobody there. And my wife was like, are you happy that there's nobody there? I was like, yeah.
You're like, yes and no. Like, no, because that means there was something walking in front of me. But the amount of things we actually debunk, and we don't put it all in the show because, well, we can't fit it all. No. If you actually come and stay here, one thing we'll say to everyone in our brief at the start is you're going to spend 6 hours before you even think about going to bed. And you're going to radio down to us and say, oh my gosh, there's a ghost. And we are likely 9 times out of 10 going to tell you, no, it's not. It's someone in room 3 knocking on the wall. It's a cat outside. It's something, the amount of things. And the issue we have, really, and I think this is the issue a lot of even like the Ouija brothers have, for instance, is that they put stuff in that they think is going to be watched and enjoyed by people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get like this, for instance, someone will say to me, so I will guarantee you get a message now saying that there's a shadow figure passing in front of me.
Yeah.
I will get that email tomorrow when you put this video out or whenever. And it's fascinating. But we put the video out going, well, of course it's my hand in front of the light I've got there.
Yeah.
But people don't think that people just immediately look at things to believe in. And yeah, we spend a lot of time combing through all of these cameras, just going, right, what can that be? And only when we have checked 24 different cameras and spent potentially up to an hour really looking into it, do we get back and say, look, that is unexplained. And we probably don't even say that's paranormal.
No.
We actually say that is unexplained. It's we have seen some epic stuff here.
Yeah.
But we record 4,000 hours worth of footage, like I said, and because everything is caught on camera, if something happens now, I've got the cameras up behind you, I'll see it.
Yeah.
And not only will I see it, it will be recorded from probably multiple angles. And being able to have that tool is just unbelievable. You can't do that anywhere in the world.
There was a episode, you'll know the one I'm on about, with the glass on the bar, where the glass came off the bar.
Yes.
And the initial camera angle I looked at, and I'm like, that could have been faked. Somebody could have been the other side of the bar. There could have been a string, or even they've wet the glass on purpose, put it there, and all the rest of it. And I'm like, I kind of hope it's not. And then it's like, here's the second angle. Oh, right. I can't. That is no longer. It's no longer there could be somebody there because they're showing that second act. Here's the heat vision camera. Oh, all right, that's 3 angles covered. Somebody's going to have to be really, really careful not to get caught out there. And there's a group of 8 or 10 people sat around the table. All right, fair enough. And then it's, you're picking up glasses. Look, the bar's dry. This is dry. And I'm like, the debunking, people are not even realizing what you're doing. You're trying to debunk your own potentially paranormal evidence, and people haven't even realized you're doing it. And you do it almost every episode. There's always something where you're like, oh, we think that it is whatever. There was the baby crying for months and months and months. People were saying there's a baby crying, there's a baby crying. When we turned up, Harry and Danny stood there and they were, if you hear a baby crying, it's that building there. It's warm. And it was the 27th of October and it was proper warm in the hotel all night. So, yeah, there seems to be no grey area. It's like, it's a ghost or they are faking and lying. There's nothing in between. It's a hard balance, whereas I see the grey area and I'm like, not everyone's faking. A lot of people are assuming something is paranormal when it's something far more natural. I'm not talking about your building and your show. I'm just talking in general. And then you've got...
We do see that all the time, though, regardless. We do see... things. A good example is we put out only a few episodes ago a video of an orb. I don't know if you remember seeing this.
Yeah.
Now we made a bit of a joke about it because Danny genuinely couldn't work out where it was. All of the comments afterwards we actually worked out because our viewers worked out that it was Harry's torch reflecting through the glass in a weird way.
Yeah,
we genuinely didn't spot that. We cut the footage and went, let's put it up to the guests to really work that out to the watchers, and that was brilliant. We should really kind of go back and identify that as a moment, I think. But when you are restricted to so many minutes of viewing on YouTube a week and all these different things and retaining viewers and all these different things, it is hard to include everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because obviously my end of it, I get a lot of people, can you debunk this channel, that channel? And I'm like, sometimes I will literally open a video and by the time they have done their opening section, I'm like, no, I can't. I can't sit through these people just broing everything, screaming, jumping. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and try and... I'm not doing it. Then there's the emails I get at this point, and obviously I've discussed this with you prior. I get sent timestamps, and then I open up the timestamp, and it's like, that's torchlight passing a railing. It looks like something's run down the stairs. That's not what it is. It's pareidolia. And then you're a piece of shit. Hang on, you asked me what that was. I told you what it is. And the reason the team doing that investigation didn't say we caught a shadow running down the stairs was because in editing they've seen it and gone, oh, that's a railing, and thought nothing else of it. Oh, you're
Yeah.
wrong. No, I'm not. There's a no smoking rectangular sign on that spindle, and you see that square move down the stairs. Oh, what about the demon in the window? That was the cameraman's reflection. He's wearing glasses. I don't think demons have issues with their eyesight. And
There was an amazing moment in room 8 when we were filming an interview in there, when we were discussing the Greystone. And over my shoulder is a face in the wall.
all right.
There isn't. There just isn't. In fact, I still can't see it. But I had friends message me. I had viewers message me. I had all these, and quite a lot of people were seeing this face in the wall, and it was just the paint on the wall in a certain way.
Yeah, I upset
people were going mad over it.
I upset some people with that debunking video because at the end of it, I was like, "Stop sending me clips," because what you're asking me to do is identify Jesus in your toast. And people were like, "Oh, you're not taking this seriously." I do take it seriously. That's why I'm telling you. I can't keep reacting and looking for every audio and visual pareidolia, because that's what it is. Night vision immediately halves your camera quality. It's dog shit quality. But you know, to sell your show, to sell your paranormal investigations, whatever, you turn the lights off, put the night vision on, instantly your video's 10 times creepier. It might look like crap, but it's creepier for people.
Yeah, it is a weird one to choose to do a ghost hunt in the dark, when technically they should be doing the same things regardless of light, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've discussed the reason that I debunk. I'm not sure if you know this. Is it's not because I don't believe in the paranormal. It's because I do believe in the paranormal. And for the shows that I debunk and the ones that I go at harder, that are making an absolute killing off and all the rest of it, to me, they are damaging people's real experiences. Because I went into it a couple of weeks ago and one of the boys had found my channel and I got Ghostbusters music playing and they're all, do you really believe that? And I'm like, yeah. And what? And it's like, oh, but it's all a bit silly, isn't it? And then they're like, well, look at this. And they showed me a channel. And I was like, oh, dear God, that's not what we do. That is not what me or any of the people that I will say are real do. That bin floating in the air is clearly on a wire, on a green screen. I can recreate it, which is what I started doing, is recreating the fake stuff to show people, even with very little editing skills, what I can do. Like, I did one where I walk out of a bathroom, my reflection stays there and does this at me. And everyone was like, that's amazing. How long did that? That must have taken hours. It was like 10 minutes. That's all it took. And imagine what these guys can do in the dark, where you can't see the little mask slip because it's tracked the back of your t-shirt and all the rest of it. Which brings us to, what are your thoughts on people who think of my haunted hotel as an attraction as opposed to an investigation?
I actually really like this question. And the simple reason is because the answer is actually, it is both. Every paranormal venue, technically, you could class it as an attraction. People are paying money to go to them. 30 East Drive charge minimum £400 a night, and they're booked out till 2024. There's someone making a significant amount of money in that. Therefore, is it not a paranormal attraction? But my background is in themed attraction design. Now, the reason that these rooms are decorated the way they are, they were already creepy. We have a book downstairs in the bar of 10, 20 years worth of handwritten letters of people that stayed at the hotel saying, never stay in here again. Thanks for the stay, though. And so of all these like sightings and photos that people have taken, there was one really interesting moment where an old lady was staying in room 6, and Harry asked her the next day, how was it? She went, oh, I was taking some photos because, it's haunted. And he went, oh, did you capture it? And she went, no, but there is this photo. And on an old digital camera with the screen on it, shown him a photo. I wish we had this photo. A photo of her asleep in bed.
Oh.
Yep. So Harry's initial reaction was, whoa, it wasn't me. It wasn't. Harry was
That's
like,
bizarre.
yeah. I wish we had or knew who this person was to get the photo off them. I'd love to have actually seen the photo for real. But so because of that, we were like, hey, let's make a haunted hotel investigation like it's never been done before. You can go to a paranormal investigation in a hotel. You can go to a paranormal investigation and stay over. You can't go anywhere where it feels not only like a paranormal investigation that you're going to genuinely do, but it also feels like an actual experience that you're paying for.
Yeah.
So what we kind of went out and did was create a brand, My Haunted Hotel, where people can not only come and genuinely investigate the paranormal, but also have an experience that feels like, one, they're on their own kind of paranormal show. We said at the start of this podcast that, you know, people grew up watching Most Haunted live and always going, oh, I wish I was there in the audience, and being picked to be the person to go on the investigation with them. This is sort of your chance to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we set out to do. And creating an actual experience out of it, and therefore sort of making it an attraction. Now, I know people that say, hey, oh, it's just an attraction. I think what they're getting at is that things here are faked.
Yeah.
And they're done for the sake of it being scary. You know yourself that things are not faked here. And we've had now over 1,000 guests that have stayed here that come downstairs into this very room and watch the cameras back after something's just happened and go, wow, okay. So I think that the difference obviously is that we have real people to genuinely validate what goes on here. And you do see this sort of extravagant version of it on YouTube that's got the background music and the creepy audio to start. And of course, we're creating a paranormal show. But the stuff that is in our show is filmed for real, in real time, with real people. And that's it. If nothing happens on a night, we just don't cut the footage normally. Or we show you that it's a quiet night. The issue is filming a night of... I'm looking at all the cameras now. There's currently no glasses being thrown off tables. And that's because that happened once in a year of being filmed endlessly. If you think of the amount of hours of footage that took to find, we were incredibly lucky, if anything.
I mean, lucky.
I definitely think a lot of this stuff is right place at the right time. And you'll see a lot of it. Oh, yeah, we were so lucky it happened in front of us. We actually have on our system here a way of setting events, basically. So if something moves in a room, we get a notification. Yeah. And at that point, we can obviously look back at it. And that's how I think we spotted the chair moving. Things like that. So we're very lucky that we do go back. However, we're here so often and we have so much to do that we can't actually watch every second of all of it.
No.
But in terms of people saying, it's an attraction or what do I think about that? I actually sort of agree with you. That, we are creating a genuine paranormal attraction where people can come and have genuine paranormal experiences, but then also be filmed as part of what feels like being on a show, and then also able to actually get your on-ride photo of the paranormal world and be able to watch your night back as well. So I understand the people that say, oh no, it's a bit of an attraction, but that was part of our intention. We are creating a paranormal investigation for everyone, not just the paranormal buffs that watch these videos endlessly. How do we entertain the person who is the husband of the paranormal enthusiast, that's been dragged along? How do we, make him feel part of this experience as well? I think that's all part of what we do.
I And you do it well.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
I think anyone that really thinks that something is fake here, I would suggest come along.
Yeah.
Come and actually check it out. We've had people flip mattresses in disbelief. We've had people unscrew the photos off the wall and check behind them because there's obviously mechanisms behind the wall. Which genuinely, this happens every week. It's hilarious to watch, and it's good because it's in a way it's validating to us that we are doing something right in presenting it, and having people do that. We actually spend so much time debunking stuff here. You just don't see it because it's boring to watch on YouTube.
It's not that boring. That's what the channel is.
Oh no, sorry, my bad. Sorry. Debunking Paranormal is the best entertainment you could ever possibly watch. Check out Beardo Get Scared on YouTube.
Brett thinks my channel's shit.
Oh, funny.
Thing is,
because the difference between what you're doing and what we're doing is we're debunking it live because someone in another room is knocking on a wall and they're going, "Oh my god!" Whereas you're debunking things that obviously are purposely faked.
Yeah, most of what I mean, I fell into debunking completely on accident. It was a channel I enjoyed watching. There was never these are 100% real. All of this stuff is real. There was always an element of me like, oh, come on. But then when I saw masking, I was like, oh, no. I nearly didn't put the video out because I was basically a pound shop version of Casper Site. I was just reacting to scary videos. And then when I debunked that, and that video got, I think it's on like 10,000 views now. It's the most viewed video I've ever had. And there were people like arguing with me. No, you're wrong. And I'm like, I'm not wrong. There's a clear line of the mask. One ball is supposed to move, 3 move for 3 frames, and then bounce back. And they don't say anything about that. Oh, you edited that? No, I didn't. I didn't have editing software at the time other than OBS Studio that I used to stream gaming on. And then, obviously, to be able to come to your place and do a live debunk, for me, it was, I can actually go to this place. People have got questions. I had questions. And then within a few hours of meeting Harry and Danny, I was like, no, these guys are legitimate. They're too open, too honest, and too happy for me to just be like, yeah, have at it. Catch us, please, catch us. I'm like, that's not how you behave. You're supposed to be like, oh shit, there's a debunker here. And that's not how they were at all. And then Danny helped me debunk stuff while I was there. I've sent him stuff, not from the hotel, investigations I've done since the hotel, and asked him to have a look at it, and he has. And he's like, right, that's not paranormal. That I believe it is. And he's a very nice guy, very commanding in presence, but he is such a nice guy with it. And then I started to look at his other content, and I watched the Haunted Hunts thing, where he finally believes that he caught 100% undeniable paranormal evidence. And he sat there and he's crying. And it was when I watched that, I was like, that's how much it means to these guys that he's finally caught it. And, he's got tears. He could have cut all of that out because it's not a good look for a man to be crying over something that a lot of people don't believe in, and he left it all in. And I was like, my respect level for him went through the roof there. I know that's how much it means to him, and then for him to fake it would be it end his career. It's not worth the risk for him, whereas other channels are faking stuff and we all know it. They won't admit to it, but they know that everyone knows. They just don't care. They carry on with it. And that's not the impression, or in my experience, because I can say, look, listen, I've been there. I've experienced it. There was stuff happened there that I couldn't explain. The bang in the room with the pentagram on the floor, it scared the shit out of me. Water sprayed out of my face. I looked at my wife and I was like, I hope they haven't seen that. And then I can hear Danny and Brett laugh over the radio and Danny going, we saw it all. Ah, goddamn. But what was it? we have no idea. But it wasn't like on the spot. We have no idea. Right, we'll check the footage and we'll get back to you. And it must have been 45 minutes later. Right, we've looked at all the cameras. There's nothing that could. And the bang for me was inside the room on the floor where the box, the Dybbuk box was. It sounded like somebody dropped something really heavy in that. It wasn't. It didn't come from outside. Didn't come from next door. I could hear next door. It came from in that room, and I'm like, I had a experience there. Is it 100% paranormal? I don't know. But the potential for it to be paranormal was there because I was there in person. I recorded it on my camera. You guys had it on your cameras, and I know from my experience and from what I've seen, your end, my end, that happened, and there was no explanation for it. Because my initial thought was the door at the bottom of the stairs when you come out. Obviously, people smoke and stuff. When you come out of that door at the bottom of the stairs, not the entrance to the pub, the entrance to the hotel stairs, that door that bangs, but it's not underneath that window where that bang is coming from. It's a you can tell direction when you're there in person, and that's not where that bang came from.
If you were sat in room 1 and that bang had happened, that might have been a good explanation for it because you're directly above that door you're talking about. You saw me nodding straight away. I know exactly what door you're on about. We spend so much time just working out what noises make what in this building.
Yeah.
It's just trying to work out what these things are. I said this to you earlier, but we put in new microphones this year, and we discovered that a growl that we've previously heard in room 2 was actually a bottle bin being emptied in a pub down the road.
Yeah.
But you couldn't hear it through these new microphones, and people were going, "Oh, what was that? Was that a growl?" And then we kind of had to just take it on face value. And ever since, we've been able to check this audio back and be able to debunk that, which is nice. The issue is we don't always put it in the show because we have another 12 hours worth of everything else to put in.
Yeah.
And it is hard to do, which is partly why we're doing this now subscription service thing where we can have a bit more freedom to do the things we want and not have to worry about YouTube
algorithms,
views, not have to worry about, being a clickbaity show. We always tried not to be clickbaity. We always just did My Haunted Hotel episode, whatever. We just recently tried putting on another little tagline at the end of the episode saying episode 3, something, something a little bit more, just to try and, sort that algorithm out a little bit. It hasn't changed it. But we tried to stay away from it. We didn't want to be branded with those clickbaity, everything says real paranormal on it with a red arrow pointing to me going, things, I didn't want that. Unfortunately, that's what, as a paranormal show, that's what we're fighting against in a way. But it's tough, but you kind of just got to do it and just be humble to the fact that you're not going to win the clickbait battle, unfortunately. Not in the age of TikTok where everything's a 10-second scary video.
Yeah, and I take about 10 seconds to debunk most of them as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So in line with that, do you think that the fake paranormal channels are damaging real paranormal channels or real paranormal experiments and experiences?
I would say they are to a degree, because there was an instance, for instance, where we were debunked in amongst a group of other paranormal videos.
Yeah.
Now, these other videos were literally a woman stood in a corner in an ugly dress, like literally an actual woman. And they were like, "Whoa, there was a ghost behind." It was just a woman, stood there. So we ended up kind of getting lumped in with these other kind of very obvious, not even like trying to be a real thing. They were basically just scary for the sake of scary videos. We did get lumped in with that a little bit, which was a touch annoying. It didn't affect us in any way.
No.
So I think it's a shame that we are having to deal with that, because what I think it does is it lessens the actual paranormal. People come here and say, right, that's it. You got 20 minutes. If I don't see my bed lift off the floor and my daughter's head spin round, I'm leaving. People literally will leave 20 minutes in because they haven't shook hands with a ghost.
Yeah.
And that is because of these overly fake, ridiculous, like, shot of my kitchen, doors slamming everywhere and all that.
Yeah.
Those videos have, I wouldn't say ruined the paranormal, but they have created a false expectation for a lot of people. And that, I think that's the most damaging part for not just us, for paranormal investigations in general across the country. People now do go there with such a high expectation, when in fact a ghost hunt in reality is you sitting there with a K2 meter for 6 hours, bored out of your goddamn mind, just for the sake of hearing a couple knocks and maybe a little voice through your phone recorder. That's it. It's so incredibly rare, which is why we have to go through 4,000 hours of footage to make a weekly show, because otherwise it's impossible to catch anything.
The expectation is obviously the big one, and then, like you've described, people, they watch a channel and all the doors and there's cutlery flying about, and you're like, oh wow, I'll go to that hotel, maybe I can get that. Well, no, you can't, because the hotel is real. But then the other thing of it is there's so much of the fake stuff out there that everyone, 70% of people are like, everything is fake. It's not real. Everything is fake. And I think, personally, the reason that I go after these channels the way I do is you're insulting my belief system. I believe in the paranormal because of my own experiences through my life. And then you doing that and everyone drinking that in, it's an insult to stuff I have experienced. And then for a business or a show like My Haunted Hotel, you could then get lumped in with that. And I think that, to me, it's like I'm almost trying to fight the battle on behalf of channels like you guys, on behalf of channels like the Ouija Brothers, etc., where I'm like, listen, this stuff you're watching is crap. Stop it. Go and look at these guys doing an investigation 4 days a week, 18 hours a day, and then they've got to get up in the morning and adult and then go back and do it all over again. Or the Ouija Brothers, who are out there, their equipment, when I went out with them, I was blown away by the equipment they've got.
When they came here, the amount of stuff they have is unreal.
I've stood there.
Okay.
I've stood there. I got this on a little D-shaped clamp, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. And Steve's like, can you hold this for a second? Like, yeah, no. What the hell is this?
Like a $4,000 camera on a special mount and all that. Yeah.
And then that's why I know how much the pole cost. Just the pole the camera sits on. I was like, really? He's like, it's because you can swing this and it's counterbalanced, but that's how serious they take it. Is like with you guys. I mean, how you can't exactly just go into a bank and say, right, I've got this business idea, I'm going to catch ghosts in my hotel with CCTV. They'd be like, out. Security. Get them out.
There's also a massive, and even you said this earlier, there's a massive misunderstanding with being on YouTube and people thinking you're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
We actually don't monetize our videos simply because of some of the music we use in the background. We're unable to monetize our videos. So we don't make any money off YouTube at all. And the money we make on guests coming to do the hotel is probably works out the same amount of money as any paranormal investigation company in the country.
Yeah.
Because obviously we have far less numbers coming here, but slightly more expensive because they're staying the night.
Yeah.
And that money pays for me and Danny to not have another job in our local corner shop. Basically, is what we get paid enough to do that. And
the other thing people won't understand is things like public liability insurance. Because I've been look. There's a couple of guys I'm looking to work with doing investigations properly and on a different platform and all the rest of it. I'm going to announce it all once we've got it proper set. And then when it was like, right, we've got to look at the insurance, I was like, what do you mean? It's like, because we're dealing with what? There's a specific I can't say much because of the other channels involved, the bigger channels. But we're trying to do legitimate investigations with real people that basically think they're haunted. And we want to go in and see, hey, listen, it could be carbon monoxide. So we're going to buy a carbon monoxide detector to take in because it can cause hallucinations. High levels of EMF can cause auditory hallucinations and stuff like that. So if your house is wired badly like ours is, and you hold an EMF up in the middle of the living room and you're on an EMF 5 constantly, that is not good for you. That can lead to you thinking that there's things there that are not. And we want to go that sort of direction, but then maybe there is the potential to actually find some evidence. You know, we're doing proper application, and the money that it'll take for the insurance to put the application packs together, because we don't want Jesus in my toast people. How do you offset that with work? You guys are in a position where this is your work. And I remember scrolling the comments when you guys said you were doing the paid content. And for the most part, everyone was just really supportive, which shocked me. And I was like, the amount of time they spend, they've got every right to monetize themselves. And me and Steve were scrolling and we were like, I can't believe people are bitter that they want to try and get paid for their work. It's work. It's not a hobby that they happen to film. This is a full-time career. This has been Danny's career for years. Why shouldn't they have the ability to monetize it and to be able to upgrade stuff, to be able to have days off? Because you guys, I mean, I've said it to you and Danny, the end of episode 2, you guys looked terrible.
Yeah.
You had your bags under your eyes, and even when you're in that office, the three of you were sort of more slouched, and there was a little bit less. And then it was like, right, we're changing the format, we're changing this. The first 2 episodes back, and it was like, they've slept, they're enjoying it. It was, you made the right decision. Absolutely.
Yeah, we had to. It took over our lives a little bit. We're here 4 days a week. We go home and we talk about it. We go home and have messages about it. We reply to emails. It literally becomes your entire life. And it's tough. We're here till 2 a.m., if not later, 4 days a week. And it having to get up and obviously, like you said earlier, and then adult, which I don't do much of, to be fair. But doing things like that and then balancing your social life or seeing your girlfriend or whatever it's tough because you're in a hotel until 2 a.m. 4 times a week, and then Danny goes home and edits all day, every day, 7 days a week, basically.
I couldn't. When I spoke to him and he was like, "Yeah, I edit it," I was like, "Really? I thought you paid somebody to it." I mean,
if we could.
What I do is on a far smaller scale, and like you said, I've got a YouTube comments. People keep saying, "How do you comment to everything?" It's like, I don't anymore. I physically can't comment back to. I try, but literally, I'm in work and I'm like, right, there's nobody looking. Like, thanks for watching. Like. And I'm like, this is starting to take over my life. This week I did 2 videos. I normally do 3. I did 2 videos and I did a live stream. And then by the time I've done the comments, then the emails are going off. But in between that, I've got a schedule on Twitch where I game for 3 nights of the week. And people are paid subscribers to that, so I have to fulfill it. And then it got to yesterday. I came home from work. I'd been lifting all day in work. My elbows and my hands were killing me. I was just like, I'm not recording, I'm not editing, and I'm not streaming. And my wife was like, good. For once, sit on the sofa and watch TV and don't put anything paranormal on. Because
don't do
even when I'm not out here, I'm putting stuff on the TV, and I'm still working technically because I'm looking for stuff to either debunk or stuff to be like, these guys are legit. These, the channels I used to shout out, I only ever used to shout out the Ouija Brothers. There are now 5 channels that I will say, listen, these are the guys you need to watch. These are the guys, and I'm going out and investigating with these guys. And now I've watched all of your content on the free stuff. I'm going to subscribe, and then it's like it's got to this point where I'm like, I'll happily say my haunted hotel are legitimate. I have seen somebody debunk them, and I don't agree with the debunk. I'm not going to start a war with that person, and I'm not going to say that what he said was in malice or anything. I don't think he was. I think, like you said, he saw a snippet in the middle of all of that fake stuff and went, "That's fake because of whatever." Is it a possessed doll sat on the shelf? I personally don't believe that. I didn't believe that dolls could be possessed, but then I've seen that Grace thing, and I'm like, I'd be really. There's something off with that Grace doll, and that I could come to that hotel, go in that room with that doll, and come out and be like, I've been wrong this entire time, or I could come out and be like, nah, it's not. It's just the bangs of the natural building, but because you're in front of the doll, you think. But there's something up with that doll. For it to have done the things it's done in so many places, because I've read the history of it. I've done a deep dive into it.
The amount of stuff about that doll is just endless. I don't believe in possessed items specifically either, but it's scary sometimes in that room, and you do wonder. I always look at things from a psychological aspect. And now we actually do a separate little brief at the start. Anyone that goes into room 8, we do tell them to please be rational, because we've had people faint before they've even gone in the room, simply because they've hyped themselves up so much that the essence of what this doll has been advertised as has made them freak out before they've even gone in. So we do try to make sure that people are as rational as possible, because we've seen some pretty horrific turns in that room. And we don't want that, as entertaining as that is to watch. It can be dangerous, not even on a paranormal sense. If someone faints in that room, there's a danger to that person. Regardless of it being paranormal, psychological, or anything else. So we do have to constantly keep an eye on that room, not only because of the paranormal aspect, but because of the psychological aspect this doll has on people.
Yeah, it's the way you've decorated it, the room is next level. I don't know whether it's in the bit that we thought was recording that wasn't, so I am going to say it again. It just gives Exorcist vibes, like somebody, obviously you, somehow in your brain took the feelings that people get watching The Exorcist and put it on the walls for everyone to just look at. And that's the thing I get is The Exorcist got that heavy feeling when you're watching it, and that room to me has that heavy. I don't know how you did it, but it's amazing what you've done with it. All the rooms are creepy, but that is something else.
Yeah, it was a room that I was on two minds with the whole decorating the rooms anyway. But when someone gives you the opportunity to decorate a room that has what is documented to be the most haunted item in the UK, regardless of if you believe that or not, I kind of went, I have a little bit more creative freedom here to really present this thing in a unique way that no one else could do. So that's kind of where I went on it. As you go into room 8, there's a wall of just it's kind of like a mind room of all these red strings kind of pinpointing different things.
Yeah,
Grace is written on the wall, and actually all of these things that are on these red strings and pinpointed to the wall are all the different news articles that Grace has been in.
Yeah.
So things like that, I really wanted to make a point of it. This thing wasn't going to go to a museum, so let's make it its own museum, as well as it being something we can go in and investigate. Equally, we wanted it to be separate from the King's Head, because we didn't want it to take over in any aspect of the show. We didn't want it to take over any aspect of what happens here that could be deemed paranormal. So we wanted to seclude it to its own area as well.
In a way,
complete control, really.
In a way, the opposite's happened though. because you've had some really bizarre stuff happen in other areas that wasn't happening before, and things I've experienced firsthand the waves that you talk about. I've been there, and you can hear all the rooms going, "What was that?" And it's like something is happening, and it's happening across the hotel, and it seems to move through the building. And since that doll and that room has been created, that wave it doesn't seem to have as many waves. It's like there's pockets of activity all over the place, almost like the whole. I don't believe it to a degree, but it is like the hotel is trying to fight back against and retain its own
Yeah, there was
identity.
a weird theory thrown around last week, where there was a few women reading the rules to go into room 8, and there was this horrible dragging noise on the wooden floorboards right in front of them. We couldn't debunk it to anything. Right below there is the kitchen. There's no one in there. This was like the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And someone said, I wonder if it's something trying to prevent people going into room 8. It's a theory. And it's an interesting one to discuss. So obviously, we can't validate it in any way. But I wonder if that's something. Is whatever was here now aware that is what's here now? It is fascinating, and you do feel the change since we brought these things here. You do, just walking around, you feel the change.
Yeah, there was a distinct change in Harry for a number of weeks. I assume it was more to do with him just being burnt out on all of it. But there was like, you always looked nervous around the doll. You couldn't hide it. You were always sort of standoffish with it. And Harry didn't seem that bothered by it, but there was like as the hotel mood seemed to change, Harry's mood bizarrely changed a bit, and it's probably more to do with him being tired and all the work that goes in. But as a viewer looking in, because when I watch your show now, I try to take the Beardo element out of it, and I just want to enjoy a paranormal show. And I can do that with my Haunted Hotel. I can put it on and just enjoy it for what it is, and at the end of it, be like, fair play, they've done well. I've really enjoyed that. Oh, look, there's an episode where nothing happened. I've been waiting for that. I know nobody else in the country is looking forward to an episode like that, but I was like, I wanted that. I needed to see that. But yeah, the whole Grease thing. So how scared are you of Grease?
That's a good question. I don't know if the word scared is the right word. I get scared incredibly easy. I'm very jumpy. I'm very scared in the moment. However, immediately after that, I'm not too bad. And I'm always fine to be kind of the one to step in the room or something. But there's an apprehension towards the Grace doll that
What is that?
Hello? I don't know what that was. I thought someone had knocked on the door.
It sounded like a door opening, and then, yeah.
Anyway, as far as I know, I'm sorry. That was bad timing.
Great timing, because that sounded like somebody opened the door on the outside and then walked past where you are. I heard somebody walking.
Okay. I've got eyes on all the cameras. There's no one's moving upstairs. There's 2 members of staff in. They're downstairs on the bar. Anyway, where was I?
The Grease doll.
Yes. So I'm actually more apprehensive for other people. Since I went in there once and the whole room like shook almost, is what it felt like. This loud bang. It was awful. And it happened in there while I was alone. And a lot of things happened that sort of felt like I was being staged into that. So I was downstairs, something was happening. I was with guests. Harry and Danny were watching room 8. They were like, oh, no, this has happened. Oh, we're going to do this. And then Harry and Danny said, oh, you need to go up there. You need to, all these different things that made me think that actually Harry and Danny were trying to scare cam me and like scare me.
Yeah.
And I did. You don't actually see it as bad as it came out, I don't think, on camera. I proper got angry at them because I thought that was really inappropriate for them to.
That's the door again.
Right, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I came downstairs. I was very angry at the fact that that they kind of led me into this scenario and then scared me in room 8, which is something we deem quite serious. So that's not cool.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. And then I came down here and in front of them, checked the cameras, and realised that they were both just sat in here.
Wow.
Because I was so convinced it was them.
Yeah.
I think that scared me quite a bit. Because it didn't feel like, oh, something paranormal happened. It felt like something was out to get me. So I think now I'm more apprehensive for other people that go into room 8. I think because of that experience I've had.
Yeah. I can't wait to come back and then actually experience it for myself.
Well, I think now would be a good time. I haven't discussed this with the guys yet. I have discussed it, but we haven't announced it anywhere. Is that I would like to officially invite you as a debunker to come on one of our special episodes that we're going to film. We're doing My Haunted Hotel Lockdown. It's giving us freedom to get people in to really investigate, and not have to worry about all of the guests that stay here all the time, and we have to keep on top of everything. Last week we did one with all the staff. We then did one with 4 different mediums, of which we fairly brutally debunked in some cases. And I would love us to do a lockdown with debunkers. So we'd love to have you around sometime and we'll film that. I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do it. Yeah. Why wouldn't I,
Yeah, right. I think it'll be interesting to really to actually do something that everything is. The only thing we're trying to do now is debunk absolutely everything. I think and really sit down with people that get that have come here with that mindset. They haven't come here to have a good time. They haven't come here to just hunt ghosts. They've come here specifically. How do we debunk these things? Now, I think that I would love to film that. I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know how many debunking channels you watch, but there's a guy, The World of Mr. Grey. He's another Welshman. He's a non-believer. He's totally skeptical, but he wants to experience something. He's been out with the Ouija brothers, so people trust him to turn up and tell the truth. And he's definitely worth a look for you guys for an episode like that. It'd
be nice to have 2 other Welsh guys here as well. I'm stuck with these 2 English ones.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that you're actually Welsh.
I know, I don't sound it, do I?
No. But then if I grew up in the Rhondda Valleys, and the accents there are so strong, and people are like, why don't you sound like the other Welsh people? I have to unlearn that.
Unlearn it.
Yeah, you move out of the Rhondda Valley. I lived in London for a short time, and the short time I was there 9 months, and my accent lessened and lessened, and then I started picking up little phrases. And when I came back to Wales, it's like, why do you sound English? It's like, do I? It's an endearing accent, but it's like they put people on the news, and you're like, oh, of all the people, why did you pick the one that talks like that?
Yeah, because it stereotypes everyone. I'm from Wrexham in North Wales. It's what, 4 miles to the border. It's not very Welsh at all, really, especially in terms of its accent.
Yeah, one of my jobs that I discussed with you earlier, I can't do it on here. I worked Wrexham, Bangor, Anglesey. I worked all up there for a couple of years, just before lockdown. I was actually in North Wales working, and they were like, "You've got to come home." Oh, why? Everyone's getting locked down. Right, so I've only got one question left. Recording 24/7. What is your most embarrassing moment? Not that you've seen with a guest.
Oh dear, can I even say that? Is it going on YouTube?
Yeah.
What am I allowed to say? The most embarrassing. Oh, I've got one. This was fairly embarrassing, and funnily enough, it actually wasn't. When I was decorating room 8, this video may still exist. I hope to God it doesn't. When I was decorating room 8, Grace was actually in the room, covered over on the plinth. I built the plinth first and put her in place, so she was kind of there. Covered over, and I would listen to music really loud to kind of cover any potential noise I could possibly hear, and kind of just tune out and get on with what I needed to do. And I was listening to musicals quite loud, and Harry, unbeknownst to me, decided to film me singing it. I can't remember if it was Six, the musical, which is about Henry's 6 divorced and beheaded wives.
Yeah.
At the top of my voice, and sent me the video, or sent me and Danny the video on our group chat, being like, "Oh, that was pretty much," because I was going for it. That was pretty embarrassing. I hope that video still doesn't. I hope that's gone.
I hope it does.
It's gone.
I hope it exists.
It was before there was a camera in room 8, so I know there's no actual footage of it there.
Yeah.
But he filmed it on his phone. He kind of sneaked around the door. I hope that's gone, because that was horrific. I think that, and it's weird being filmed 24/7. And I think that's part of, like you mentioned, how exhausted we look sometimes.
Yeah.
You are being filmed, and obviously being a host of both the experience and then obviously the show, you are kind of in performance mode endlessly.
Yeah.
And I'll stay here most nights, and I'll go into whatever room's free, and the first thing I do is unplug the camera, take it off, and then I'll sit down, and I'll actually sit, even though it's 2:30, 3 a.m. I'll sit for 2 hours watching something on YouTube, something on Netflix or something, just trying to tune out of being in work and being in this sort of performance mode. Because it's strange. People, as guests that come here as well, expect you to be exactly like you are on the show. And obviously we are, and I do eat lots of snacks quite often here. But there was one guy who was eating a bowl of chips downstairs in the pub, who I walked past, didn't know he was even sat there, just walked past, and he goes, oh, here he is. Hey. I was like, I'm not going to eat your chips.
Your food.
I'm not going to... People do. The first time I was ever recognised was on a bus on the way here. And this woman said, oh, hi, Brett, you all right? And I went, yeah, you okay? You just say hi to someone in the street. You don't think twice of it or something. I went, I don't think I've recognised... Do I recognise her? I don't know. I'm bad with names and faces anyway.
Yeah.
And as she got up to leave, she was walking down the stairs. She went, oi, Brett, Hustler Burger, yeah? And it was the first time I'd ever been recognised, and I sank in my seat. I didn't know what to say. I just went, yeah, okay, and just disappeared below the seat.
Last year, sort of my Twitch was at the peak that it's been at when I was streaming. I was just streaming nothing but Phasmophobia, and I was streaming for 12 hours on my 4 days off because I was on a shift pattern, and I worked in the city centre doing security. And there's a thing on my Twitch channel where people will put in the channel points. They don't pay for this, channel points, and they put in "give me a Beardo," and I basically just bellow Beardo really loudly. People think it's hysterical, and I'm in this shopping mall in Cardiff, and I've stood there, giving it that staring at all the wrong ends and directing all deers and all the rest of it. And I just hear this guy bellow, Beardo! And I just sort of froze. I was like, uh-oh. I looked up and this guy's like, it's you, innit? It's you off Twitch. Yeah. He comes over, he's like, I'm a really big fan. I was like, oh, shit, I'm in work. I'm really, I didn't know how to deal with it. And then there was for a few weeks, people were walking past me and they were doing a double take. And then they're coming back, like, do you stream on Twitch? No. And then they were coming into the Twitch.
Just said no.
Yeah.
So had someone walk in. You didn't knock on this door earlier, did you?
No, been downstairs. Too busy.
What? I will check it back to make sure no one actually walked up here and I missed it.
Quite interested in that. Yeah, one of my moderators over on Twitch. I said to her, she's a massive fan of your show. I said to her the other week, I was like, oh, potentially I'm going to be doing a podcast with Brett and possibly some of the other guys. And she was like, how? I was like, kind of asked, and Brett shows an interest in the channel. She was like, but how do you speak to them? Like, because they're people. they're normal guys. And then I forget that people see YouTube now as a form of TV. In fact, YouTube's probably doing better than a lot of TV shows. And to people that watch the show religiously week in, week out, you're the celebrities. And then, bizarrely, as small as my channel is, there's an element of that. And I've seen it before with the Twitch stuff. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. I don't know how people think we are. I mean, I'm me. If anything, my YouTube is a toned down version of me.
you keep it down a notch, do you?
Yeah, basically, I have to get my wife. Certain channels that I debunk, my wife has to scrub through the video and then say that's not for YouTube. You can't do that. I tried to make my stuff lighthearted, even though I'm really annoyed at these people.
I have got a question for you, actually, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course it is.
Just while we're talking about it, simply because I have recently had a bit of a job that here I had to debunk some mediums. We had 4 mediums in.
Yeah.
Now, we met these 4 mediums first, and they're all lovely, and I actually sort of morally struggled a little on how I can debunk these. I don't know if I've still got my notes from when they were doing a reading with Harry, and each medium did a reading with Harry, and I gave my semi-professional opinion on whether or not it was cold reading or anything else that could have been done, if there was a lot of guesswork involved. Now, that was literally my job. My job is to point that out. If it's real or not, that is why they were here. They knew that. But I found myself feeling horrible afterwards. And I don't know if it's because I was maybe taking my job too personally and going, oh, well, actually, this person, regardless of what I think, that is their career.
Yeah.
And if it's fake, I have a duty to call that out.
Yeah.
As a paranormal investigator, I have a duty to call that out. But they're such a nice person. And I weirdly struggled with it. I actually say this on camera on the show that I called out these mediums that I believe weren't real or giving me evidence that would suggest otherwise. And yet all I was thinking was, but they're so lovely. Yeah. And I found it hard to disconnect my own personal feelings from what is literally my job. And I wonder, have you ever had a similar scenario where you have debunked something or someone, say the Ouija brothers or us, for instance, you get on with really well. Yeah. If something came out that you really all of a sudden went, or have you had a past experience where you've trusted someone or knew someone well?
Yes. Not that I've known really well. the Ouija brothers are a good example. Somebody sent me a video. Right, you need to look at this. You can debunk the Ouija brothers. And I was like, oh no. They're my friends. This goes beyond. I've been on an investigation with them. I've been out twice with Steve, but one we didn't record anything because we couldn't. The second time we went out did a proper investigation. But me and Steve speak to each other almost daily at this point. He's given me great advice with my channel. He gives me great advice on what I should be doing thumbnail wise, equipment wise, especially with me getting more involved in investigations. He's helped me so much, and I'm just sat there like, I hope. Part of my brain, the horrible bastard in me, was going, if you've got them, this will blow your channel up. And I was like, oh no. So I watched the footage and I was like, I can see where this guy thinks there could be an element of trickery. But
I think I saw this video that you put out.
A sign of respect. I'm going to message Steve. Look, this is what has been sent to me. This is what's been said. This is what I have seen. I'm going to do a video. And he went, all right, cool. Here's the other footage. Pardon? Like, there's the other footage. You tell me why I cut that video the way I did. And it turns out it was literally because Griff just swinging the camera like a maniac because he was running thinking somebody's in a room. So they cut to Steve's camera just to stop the swinging wildly of a camera that, as a viewer, you're going to feel uncomfortable or motion sick or whatever. And that's all it was. But while I'm typing that message to him and I'm hovering on the send like, oh, no, I don't want to do it, but I'm kind of duty bound now. And then I sent it as it was. It was nothing. There's a recent channel I've had a massive falling out with. I didn't actually do it. I didn't debunk them. I debunked Paradolia in the background of a video. It was nothing to do with them. I didn't put them in the thumbnail. I didn't use the name or anything. And it was like, you've done this, you've done that. It's like, no, you've just looked at the comments and think I've debunked you when I haven't. And they just exploded at me in the comments. I was like, for once, I didn't deserve that. So, guys, check out My Haunted Hotel if for some reason you're not. It's the first time I've ever said this on camera. I think they're legitimate. I think it is a worthy experience and a worthwhile investigation. There's nothing else like it anyway that I'm aware of. Go and check the guys out. And if you get the chance to go there, absolutely do go there. Experience the hotel and everything around it for yourself. And get to meet the guys. They're very nice guys. Brett, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you taking time out to do this with me.
No, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I watch your channel anyway, so it's nice to kind of like really have a really nice conversation with you. But also from My Haunted Hotel as a whole, I know Danny's told you this personally. We appreciate what you do because you are actually providing a service as well to the paranormal. So that was another reason I kind of really wanted to come on and have a proper chat with you, because I think you're doing not only are you debunking it, you are genuinely looking for what is real out there. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of debunkers don't do. A lot of them are just out to debunk everything regardless. So I think, having that sort of almost hey, I'm going to debunk all these things, but hold a beacon to the people, the likes of potentially us and the Ouija Brothers or any other channels that you kind of watched enough of that you are confident that there's something to it. We really appreciate it as well, and I can't wait to have you back to film a special. Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm gonna like an idiot even thinking. Yeah, it'll be great. All right, I really, really appreciate your time and thank you so much for doing it. Anything you want to say to your viewers or viewers?
I think we're good. Thank you so much for anyone who has followed our journey and continues to do so. We put out episodes every Sunday of everything that happened at the hotel the week prior. We have started filming stuff that goes on a subscription service as well. That is kind of special episodes that really go into the nitty gritty of things. That's on My Haunted Hotel at vhx.tv. I remember off the top of my head. It's very new, so I'm trying to remember it still.
Yeah,
But
we'll post all the links in the description down below for everything you guys are doing as well. Yeah, so Brett, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
for everyone watching, Beardo and Brett are out.